Welcome to Fox Soul's Black Report, your source for black news, views, and as always, black opinions. Today is Tuesday, March 22nd. I'm Seth Lemon.
I'm Mimi Brown.
I'm Romeo.
I'm Demi Lobo, and on today's report, Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearings, it's day 2 and considered to be the most intense day in the process. Meanwhile, is there a problem between the president and the VP teams? Then, Howard University professors are walking off the job. What they say needs to be addressed.
Plus, nobody wants to be ashy, but we have a warning after a bacterial infection on one brand of lotion. And could the Black Panther sequel be even more popular than the original? One legendary actor feels Wakanda has way more in store.
We have all that and so much more. This is our voice and our truth, so let's get it.
Well, it is day 2 of confirmation hearings for Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson to be the next Supreme Court justice and the very first black woman to hold the position. But it's the first day of questioning, considered by many to be the toughest of these days. Her Senate confirmation now in full swing.
This will be your opportunity to speak.
Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson faces lawmakers today as they get their first chance to question the Supreme Court nominee. 30-minute rounds highlighting Jackson's experience as a judge and asking about her judicial philosophy.
Would you like to comment at the outset of those who are looking for a label, what your position is on judicial philosophy?
Setting aside any personal views, it's very important that judges rule without fear or favor.
Judge Jackson told lawmakers her judicial opinion isn't clouded by her inclinations.
I am not importing my personal views or policy preferences. The entire exercise is about trying to understand what those who created this policy or this law intended.
Republicans questioned her ability to be impartial over her loudest supporters.
That every group that wants to pack the court, that believes this court is a bunch of right-wing nuts that are going to destroy America, that consider the Constitution trash, all wanted you picked.
My judicial philosophy is to rule impartially and to rule consistent with the limitations on my authority as a judge.
Republicans also pressed her on whether she was too lenient on child pornography defendants.
I say to them that there's only a market for this kind of material because there are lookers, that you are contributing to child sex abuse. I understand how significant, how damaging, how horrible this crime is.
Now, Democrats remain confident that they have the votes to confirm Jackson, the final vote expected before the Easter holiday. The White House says Biden is receiving regular updates on Judge Jackson's hearings. And today, Senator Schumer, the majority leader in the Senate, he had to stop and tell some of the Republicans that they need to be respectful because he thinks that some of the questioning of Judge Jackson has gone too far. Now, he said there were some Republicans who had been respectful, but there are others that he thinks don't really have anything to criticize her on that's fair, and so they're being a little outlandish, to use his own words.
You know, when they go low, we go high, honestly, Seth. And so yesterday, I was really blown away by some of the great messages that people that have spoken on her, what they've said. Yesterday, I was really blown away by Cory Booker's speech, as well as her parents, just the way that they were sitting there. But a lot of people yesterday was trending her husband and how he was just in awe and crying. He actually was crying at this moment, and he's not a black man either. And it just really goes to show you how much this means to her, how much this means to her family, and just the world.
Yeah, and go ahead, Mimi.
I was just going to say, you know, the GOP, they keep talking about how maybe her skin color had more to do with her qualifications, with her being nominated. But I think what we need to point out that she will be the only Supreme Court justice currently sitting with an Ivy League law school education, clerked for Supreme Court Justice, served as a public defender, served on the Sentencing Commission, served as a U.S. District Court judge, and served as a U.S. Court of Appeals judge. I mean, she is beyond qualified. So when they ask this line of questioning about child pornography and things like that, they're just reaching.
I appreciate the alley-oop, because I was going to talk about her qualifications, right? And when we think about that, I haven't watched this in the past much because I haven't been that much embedded with it. But this is history in the making. This is a black woman being in that position, right? So as I watch it and I talk to people and we chat, they feel like she's being on trial. Right? They feel like the way they're coming at her, the way they're attacking her, is like, wait a minute. We understand this is a process you have to go through, but they feel like she's getting it worse than others. And when I think about Senator Lindsey Graham and what Ted Cruz was talking about, I was just, look, I feel like they were taking an opportunity to take a shot at her to make their little people, their foundation, their followers feel good about them trying to do that.
Republicans are definitely going to have a lot of at least intense line of questioning, because they feel that Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett were similarly subjected to that. And this is supposed to be an intense process. This is a lifetime appointment. It is very hard to impeach a Supreme Court justice. It rarely, if ever, has happened. And so this is an appointment that deserves a lot of scrutiny. But as Schumer said this morning, we need to make sure that the line of questioning about her qualifications is respectful and warranted.
Definitely.
Absolutely. The FBI says one juvenile is responsible for most of the bomb threats made to HBCUs. The assistant director of the FBI's intelligence branch told a House panel last week that the bomb threats against HBCUs and the black churches are the FBI's top priority. They say they are treating the threats as domestic terrorism. 38 HBCUs have been targeted with bomb threats. The House and Senate recently passed a resolution condemning the threats. You know, as a HBCU grad, as a Howard grad, I just cannot imagine waking up, going to class, and feeling like, you know, are we under threat of a bomb? You know, whether it's happened yet or whether it hasn't happened yet, this is terrifying. And my question is, if we know who it is, why haven't we arrested them? We keep saying, you know, they're juveniles. We know we're targeting, we're narrowing in, but there's been no arrests.
No, I feel like if it was the other way around, there would have been some arrests by now. I think we all here can agree with that. Disrupting the learning process. Imagine being a student trying to learn and go to school every day, not sure if something's going to happen at your school. And then on top of that, I do applaud them for trying to get the grants and funds together for the mental health support. Because as a student going there, like, it's really going to disrupt your learning process, and who knows if any of them and all of them can recover from that.
You know, speaking of those grants, Romeo, I was really happy that VP Kamala Harris announced the SERV initiative. So it stands for the School Emergency Response and Violence Initiative. And so it's for HBCUs. They're going to give between $50,000 and $150,000 per campus, determined on their specific needs. So happy that you mentioned that, because there are funds going to go to HBCUs that have experienced a tragedy right now.
And just think about this. There's one person that an official has said they believe is responsible for 54 threats targeting 36 universities, black universities. That is a concerted effort. That's a lot of time to be spent by one person, supposedly a juvenile. And recently, Howard University student leaders were able to sit down with the House Oversight Committee, one of the House committees, Oversight and Reform Committee, to share their concerns about this, talking about how getting those repeated alerts at 2 a.m. in the morning to wake up out of your sleep on campus because there's a bomb threat, and then finding out that it's only happening to black folks in black universities, it's concerning, and I'm glad that the congressional leaders are taking it seriously.
Yeah. Now, 1 week went by in the shortest month of the year where HBCUs had to not fear for their lives. President Biden is issuing one of his strongest warnings about Moscow's possible use of chemical weapons. Biden says Russia is using false accusations that Ukraine had biological and chemical weapons. The president says the lies show an indication that Vladimir Putin may use them in his war in Ukraine. That news comes as Ukraine's military says residents should brace for more indiscriminate Russian shelling of critical infrastructure. In the 4 weeks Russia has waged war on Ukraine, it has not been able to capture any major cities. Putin's military has used airstrikes with long-range missiles to destroy major cities in the country.
Meanwhile, the president is also warning Russia about using cyber attacks against the United States. The president says intelligence officials believe Russian President Vladimir Putin will use cyber attacks in retaliation for severe economic sanctions placed on his nation.
We've had a long conversation about if he uses what would be the consequence. But the point is that he has a capability. He hasn't used it yet. But it's part of his playbook. And I've warned about the potential for Russian conduct to malicious cyber activity in response to the cost we'd impose with our allies and partners on the world.
The U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor says Russia is looking to attack America's critical infrastructure, but so far the White House has not specified plans for any imminent attacks going on in this situation.
Now, there are concerns President Biden's recent rhetoric and decision to call Vladimir Putin a war criminal could rupture relations between the two countries. The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs summoned U.S. Ambassador John Sullivan yesterday, filing a formal protest against Biden's comments. Now, last week, Mr. Biden said the Russian leader was a war criminal. That came during a press conference. The diplomatic breakdown between the two superpowers, it comes as Russia nears the 1 month mark on its invasion in Ukraine. And so there were also concerns. We were saying they did not want to make Brittney Griner a huge topic because some congressional lawmakers were concerned that if we kept her as the lead story, then Russia might use her as a pawn in their negotiations. But there can be no stronger rhetoric than the president used to call the president of Russia a war criminal. So if that was a concern, it clearly wasn't talked about among the consensus because he took it a further stop. And then that means that we should have been talking about Griner every day on every newscast, and makes me again question whether her skin color or sexuality played into the interest in her story.
You know what I think is happening, like I said last week, is that President Biden and Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, they're playing good cop, bad cop. When Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin was asked the same question, was he a war criminal, he danced around it because he knows I can't make a strong statement with that like that and not be any pushback. But so what was interesting is when President Biden said he's a war criminal, Press Secretary Jen Psaki came back and said he said that from his heart. So that was a way to pretty much say, this is not President Biden saying this. This is him saying this as a human being, a father, a dad, a human being, seeing what's going on. We're seeing with our eyes. And Andy Blinken also said, I back up President Biden again. But then Jen Psaki came back again and said all of this is from their heart. And so I'm like, hey, you said it. Just stand on how you feel. You're still the president, so the people are still it's still gonna have weight because you said that he's a war criminal. We can't take away if it was just from your heart.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we just need to call it what it is, whether it's from your heart or
call a spade a spade.
Right, call a spade a spade. I mean,
Everyone
sees what he's doing in Ukraine, right? We're killing babies, we're bombing hospitals, people are dying, residential areas are, being just decimated. So, at the end of the day, Putin is a war criminal. Call it what it is and not take it back. So.
If you took a survey, I think it'd be close to 100%, if not 100%, agreeing with what we're saying here right now because the truth is out there. And look, yes, President Biden said that, and I know it may be from the heart, but we all feel that way, and he should stand by that.
You could probably take that same survey in Russia and get the same results, actually.
That part.
Okay. An upcoming book by 2 New York Times reporters says there are tensions between VP Harris, her team, and Vice President Biden's team. The book, This Will Not Pass, Trump, Biden, and the Battle for America's Future, reveals that the vice president is concerned about the work she is doing. In the book, Biden's communications director, Kate Bedingfield, is reportedly putting the blame on the VP. Bedingfield reportedly says Harris's political career has fallen short of sky-high expectations. Bedingfield is denying the book's reporting. She says no one contacted her about the quotes. She also says VP Harris is a force and the administration is highly respected.
The U.S. Supreme Court is refusing to hear the case of a Christian group that was sued after refusing to hire a bisexual lawyer who applied for a job. A lower court has allowed the case to move forward. Now, Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas, they both said that the court would not take the case at this time, but they may in the future. The justices said the court would deal with the issues that may arise from the lower court case, and the case involved Seattle's Union Gospel Mission. The church provides help to the homeless, and they were looking for a legal aid lawyer. One of the applicants was Matthew Woods. He previously volunteered at the clinic for more than 3 years. Woods identifies as bisexual and was in a same-sex relationship. He was told before he applied that his application will be rejected because the organization's code of conduct excludes homosexual activity. Woods sued, arguing that the organization violated state law by discriminating against him on the basis of his sexual orientation. A state trial court judge ruled for the church and dismissed the Woods lawsuit, but the Washington State Supreme Court reversed that decision and let the lawsuit go forward.
The Supreme Court may allow North Carolina Republicans to advocate for a voter ID law. They believe the state's attorney general is not fighting hard enough to defend. The case deals with an issue of what happens in states where political parties don't control both the legislature and top elected offices. The voter ID law was passed by the GOP lead legislator, but North Carolina has a Democratic governor and attorney general. The state's governor, Roy Cooper, vetoed the law, but it was overruled by the legislature.
A former Virginia police officer is awaiting sentencing after pleading guilty Monday to conspiring with another cop to disrupt a joint session of Congress. Of course, this happened on January 6th. Jacob Fracker, a former Rocky Mount, Virginia police officer, faces up to 5 years in prison. His sentencing will be delayed until he testifies against his co-defendant, Thomas Robertson, who faces trial for his part in the Capitol riot next month.
And Congressman Jim Clyburn says he's running for office again. The House Majority Whip filed paperwork for re-election on Monday. The 81-year-old congressman from South Carolina is running for his 16th term. Clyburn is the latest of 3 House Democrats to announce they are running for re-election. Speaker Nancy Pelosi, House Leader Steny Hoyer, and Clyburn are all in their 80s.
Republicans are launching a voter registration drive at gas stations around the country. GOP strategists are trying to blame high gas prices on President Biden, and they want you to be reminded of that as you pump your gas. The cost of gas could be a political liability for the president, even though he has no control over how much a gallon of gas costs.
Yet another red state is afraid to teach the truth. Alabama passed House Bill 312, which would place significant restrictions on teaching what it calls divisive concepts. The bill considers talk about racial discrimination to be divisive. Alabama, like Texas and Florida, has laws against teaching critical race theory in state schools. The law would also bar discussions about sexism. One opponent of the law called it the sad white people's law.
And top leaders from Milwaukee and Nashville are in Washington today, making their final pitches to members of the Republican National Committee, hoping to host the 2024 RNC National Convention. Their presentations will detail their plans for mounting a huge multi-million-dollar party for the GOP presidential nominee. The host committees will detail their plans to house tens of thousands of people, their delegates, alternatives, party faithfuls, and the media. Hosting a political convention carries a substantial cost for any city, but it brings a lot of economic benefits as well. The 2016 Republican convention in Cleveland brought an estimated $400 million to the city, and the Democratic convention in Philadelphia, that brought in about $350 million.
Well, Kyleittenhouse, the Wisconsin child who killed 2 protesters, thinks he's a funny person, using a popular meme of himself crying in court to take a jab at President Biden over gas prices. People on social media were rightly angered that Rittenhouse thought it was funny to use the image of his award-winning crocodile tears as a meme. Rittenhouse was acquitted last year in the shooting deaths of 2 men. He wounded a 3rd, all at a protest against police abuse in 2020. The photo comes from the day Rittenhouse took the stand in his own defense. You see there, yeah, the meme comes from that moment. He was commenting on a tweet from LeBron James that wrote about him crying on the trial. LeBron said he hadn't seen any tears and said, quote, "That boy ate some Lemonhead candy before walking into court." Rittenhouse responded with his crying meme and a photo of him holding a gas pump. Rittenhouse tweeted, "No, it's not Lemonheads. It's the burning hole in my pocket," thanks to a Joe Biden presidency blithely unaware of international relations.
And the family of a New Jersey man shot and paralyzed by cops want the Trenton Police Department to release body camera footage of the incident. Lawyers for Juwan Henderson say the 29-year-old went to his car last month to get an iced tea when a group of men in dark clothing surrounded his car. The men turned out to be Trenton police. Lawyers for Henderson say he was trying to make a call to his girlfriend and as he saw the men approach. So cops say they shot Henderson as he tried to run them over as he attempted to drive off. Mercer County prosecutors dismissed the charges against Henderson. Henderson's family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the Trenton Police Department. Attorneys for Henderson say that he was shot in the back as well as in the neck. And so police, of course, have a lot of explaining to do with this. And so, when the story first came out, the affidavit, it had a lot in it. It said that he was uncooperative, he didn't provide identification, a driver's license, registration. It literally went on and on and on about all the ways that they felt like he was in the wrong. But when does it get to a day where the police have a way to handle situations that are non-life threatening and, of course, non-fatal? Because this man is alive but paralyzed. He doesn't have his life still.
No, he does not. And, you know, who really gets arrested and is going to cooperate most of the time? That percentage is not always on the side of, oh, they're going to cooperate and just do the right thing. Here's a situation where it continues to happen. We've seen it happen with Dante Wright. We've seen it happen before. And they try to say, well, we were protecting ourselves. Maybe he was trying to run us over or get away. There's other ways to do this. Shoot the tires in the car. Why shoot a man in the neck? Why shoot a man somewhere else in his body, paralyzing him? Now we have to live with this in that community where they don't trust police. And this is why it's hard to build relationships with community and the police department.
I mean, I feel like it's unfair to say to shoot a tire out, because then a police officer could say, I was trying to shoot the tire and accidentally killed him.
Well,
So
I'm just trying to think of a different option, because what they're doing right now in police departments in some cities is not working, and that's obvious. You shouldn't pull a gun out at all. You got the license plate number. You can find him later if needed. At the same time, this guy wasn't robbing the bank, right? He didn't walk out. He wasn't walking down the street with a gun in his hand, hopping in the car. So I feel like they overreacted. But if that's another option, I'll take that.
Really quick, did he know that they were police?
No,
because they were undercover.
Mm-hmm.
Have you been to Trenton, New Jersey?
It's black.
That's what
It's
I'm
a black
saying.
city.
So if someone, walks up on you, you're not gonna just lay down, right?
Questions
so,
persist. We'll see what the county prosecutors
we'll see what
say.
happens.
We definitely will. All right, a California couple is being charged with murder and hate crimes for the alleged killing of a black Navy veteran. San Joaquin County District Attorney filed the charges against Christina Lynn Garner and Jeremy Wayne Jones. Police say 30-year-old Justin Peebles was stabbed multiple times and shot at a gas station in Tracy, California earlier this month. The DA's office says he has evidence the couple has ties to white supremacist groups. Now, a third person, Christopher D'Amico, was arraigned as an accessory after the fact. Police say he helped the couple escape the murder scene.